Hi everyone, this is Mel of Win in the Stars Cosplay, and I'm back again to teach you something cool. This time it's applique technique using satin stitching. You can use this great technique to make faux patches as seen here on my Ceres Victoria, or you can use it in a much more complicated manner as I'm showing here on my Cassandra. This technique is very useful for adding different fabric details, some patterns, patches, whatever it is. You're definitely going to be wanting to add this technique to your arsenal of sewing techniques. So let's get started. Here are some of the items that you're going to be needing for this project aside from your design. You have Wonder Under, Iron-On Tearaway Stabilizer, and Heat and Bond. Links to these items are provided below. Cat accessory optional. For your first step, take your material and the design that you want attached to it. Pull out that fusible tearaway stabilizer and cut out a section bigger than your design. This material helps hold the item in place and stabilize the fabric while stitching. Step is completely optional but highly recommended, as will help keep the design in place even without the use of stabilizer. You can use Heat and Bond Light or Wonder Under. I prefer Wonder Under as it's a thinner adhesive and it doesn't affect the drape of the fabric as much as Heat and Bond. For this video, I'll be using Wonder Under. You're going to want to cut the design of your Wonder Under exactly to the same as your fabric, making sure that the adhesive side is against the back side of your design. The next step is you're going to want to take the Wonder Under and attach it using your iron, making sure you attach the Wonder Under to the back side of your design. Once it is attached, you can pull away the paper backing. If you find any residual adhesive, feel free to tear that away. Next, just place it right onto your fabric and use your iron to attach. Now you can attach the stabilizer also using your iron. Here are the settings that you're going to want to have on your machine. You're going to want the pressure foot to be its default setting or something such as 5. You're going to want the tension to be its default setting or something that is even between upper thread and lower thread such as 5. The type of stitch you're going to be using is called a zigzag stitch, or if your machine has a satin stitch, feel free to use this option as well. The length of the stitch is going to be 1, and the width is going to be determined how wide you want the stitch to be. Here is a diagram of different types of width of stitches that you could use. Now that we're all set, let's go ahead and start stitching. So you're going to want to set your design underneath the machine, starting at a corner as best. Make sure the center part of your foot lines up with the edge of your design. Lower the foot down and begin sewing. When you start to get to a corner, you're going to want to sew all the way up to the corner and then stop and put your needle down into the fabric on the edge. Pivot the fabric around the needle, begin sewing again. Make sure that that center of the foot lines up with the edge of your design once again. When going around a quarter greater than 90 degrees, you're going to want to treat it very similar to the 90-degree angle. You're going to want the needle to stop on the outside edge of the design, pivot around, and then make sure that it lines up again with the center of the foot to the edge of the design and continue sewing. When you come to an angle that is less than 90 degrees, instead of leaving your needle on the outside of the design, you're going to want to leave it on the inside of the design and use that point as your pivoting point. Sometimes you're going to have to walk the machine to get it to the precise angle, but go ahead and lower that needle into your fabric, adjust if necessary, pivot and see if it lines up. If it doesn't line up like it did there, go ahead and walk your machine by turning the hand crank a few times or using the pedal, stitch a few more stitches, lower that needle on the inside of the design, pivot and check again. So now that it matches up with the center of the foot to the edge of the design, I can continue sewing. When you want to go around a curve, you're going to want to make a few stitches, pivot, and then stitch a few more. Like you do with an angle that is greater than 90 degrees, you're going to want to leave the needle on the outside of the design and not on the inside of the design, and use that as your pivoting point. Always ensure that the center of your foot matches up with the edge of the fabric. Generally, if you're going to be doing a small circle, you want to do about 3 to 4 stitches and then pivot. Larger circles like this, you can go for extended amounts of time and then make your pivot. For the sake of this example, I'm going to go ahead and remove the tearaway stabilizer and make a few stitches with just the fabric and no stabilizer to give you a comparison. But to remove tearaway stabilizer, just tear it away. It should leave no residue or any sticky stuff on your fabric. As you can see, look how nice and clean that looks. Yay! So now I'm going to go ahead and continuing without the stabilizer just to have a point of comparison. To finish off your design and the stitching, go ahead and sew to the edge and sew over pre-existing stitching to lock in the stitches. Now you can see the difference between stuff with stabilizer and stuff without. When stitched with stabilizer, you can see it's a much crisper design, whereas without tends to pull the fabric a little bit more than you would want. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please subscribe to my channel so you can catch all the great tutorial content I have in store. And please check out my store at oneofthestars.com/store so you can check out all my patterns and cosplay planner. Thank you so much for watching, guys.